Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Andrea Speaks TV. I'm your host, Andrea, and I'm back to bring you news and commentary you can use. Listen, y'all, this is an audio-only upload, okay? You'll be able to hear my voice, but you won't be able to see me. But listen, y'all, I want to come on with this very important message this morning to let you all know what's going on, okay? Now, this is a world news story, okay? You may say, Andrea, well, I'm not in that country. Why are you telling me about that? Listen, the reason is, and I've said this before, if it's happening over there, who's to say that it won't happen here in the United States? As a matter of fact, it has already been happening here. Listen at what's going on, y'all. Now, you know, also, I talk a bit about the need for having a backup energy source, such as a solar generator. If you use a gas generator, please be careful. Okay, there's a certain way you have to use a gas generator. But either way, y'all, dealing with electricity, please do your research, know what you're getting into, and be careful. Listen, in the country of Ecuador, was hit, okay, according with my sources, Ecuador was hit with an hours-long nationwide blackout on Wednesday, okay, a power outage that left the South American nations 17 million people without power, okay? Did you hear the number that I just said, y'all? 17 million people without power, okay? Now, the blackout, I'm being told, which affected, listen to this, y'all, the blackout which affected hospitals, homes, and a major subway system, was caused by, what they're saying at the time of this report, by maintenance and transmission issues in the country's electrical system. Okay, that's according to authorities. Now, here's a statement from the public infrastructure minister, who said in a news conference on Wednesday, and I quote, "The outages we had today were due to a lack of investment in maintenance, new electrical transmission, and the protection of the electrical transmission infrastructure." Okay. Now, as of Wednesday night, okay, they're saying the energy had been restored in 95% of the country, according to the government. Okay, listen, y'all. Now, we're not talking about just an isolated area. They're talking about the entire country experienced blackouts. Okay, imagine if something like that would happen. I hope it doesn't. But imagine if something like that were to happen here in the United States. Do you know how crazy things would be? Whether it be, chaos breakout, people in a panic because they don't know what's going on. They haven't been preparing. They haven't thought about having flashlights. They haven't thought about emergency candles. They haven't, thought about, let alone maybe even know about what different type of generators there are. So that's why I, speak the way that I do about being prepared, because I'm sure you all would agree the current times we're living in is so much uncertainty. It's so much, it's just so many things are happening that there is even a greater need to be prepared. Okay. They're also saying now, this I'm learning, Ecuador, according to my sources, has been struggling with an energy crisis for years. Okay. The latest saw Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa declare an energy emergency in April and order 8-hour nationwide power cuts amid a drought that affected power generation. Okay, you've heard me speak about some of those same things here in the United States as it relates to power cuts. Okay, now in the nation's largest city, okay, in Ecuador, the blackout also briefly affected 2 other hospitals. Okay. It was also said by a doctor, and I quote, "The power was cut, but we have our own generators." Okay, so that was a good thing. Okay, that they had extra backup power at the hospital. Okay, now the temperature was said, okay, in one particular city, the largest city, residents faced the outage amid 90 degrees Fahrenheit heat. Okay, it was said to, and I quote, to be unbearable. It was so hot, it was so hot and humid, and they could not use an air conditioner or a ventilator. Okay, so that's why I say, y'all, even in these particular times, especially if you or someone you know, a family member, friend, loved one, if they use medical equipment powered by electricity, it is a need, okay, to have to make sure that even in a power outage, you're able to use the medical device. Okay. So, I imagine that this was very scary for several people. But it is a good thing that at the time of this article, they're saying that they have restored about 95% of the power. Okay. Let me see what else I can share with you all. Okay. Listen to this, y'all. And on top of this, okay, so not only is the power out, okay, or at the time the power was out, on top of that, one resident shared the water isn't running. Okay, so again, I want to remind you, do you have a backup water supply? Okay, I told you all just recently what was happening in Metro Atlanta concerning the water crisis, businesses closing, businesses, churches, different organizations, residents, okay, going without water for a period of time. And people are, from my understanding, I believe all the water has been restored. Access to, running water has been restored for people. But there are people and businesses still dealing with the after effects of going so long without their water, okay? And even some businesses dealing with the water damage, okay? But listen, the subway system, okay, was interrupted during the blackout. It was so significant that it was said to have affected the subway, despite it using an isolated electrical system. Now, the infrastructure minister even went on to say that the blackout could have been avoided had Ecuador carried out an investment plan to, and I quote, safeguard the infrastructure in both generating power and the transmission after a similar power outage took place in 2004. Okay, Wednesday's blackout is said to not be related to the country's energy crisis from last April. And someone was also quoted as saying, and I quote, the outages we had in April were due to a lack of investment in new power generation and in maintenance of the power that we have. Okay. And that person was the infrastructure minister who made that quote. So listen, y'all, all you have to do is just look into your own local community, see what your energy, your power companies are saying. Okay. Like I told you all, this is nothing new. There have been warnings, okay, saying that, hey, especially now that we're in the summer months, right? Was today the first day of summer, y'all? Somebody let me know. I think I saw some information about that, it being the first day of summer. But listen, make sure that take heed to the warnings that they're saying. Hey, by it being so hot, sometimes they ask people to cut back on, their power. Sometimes they ask them to conserve power. But listen, make sure you have backup energy. Make sure you have a backup energy source. Do your research, okay? Use whatever you feel like is best and you're most comfortable with using for you and your family. Make sure you have a backup water supply, emergency food supply, survival needs, okay? And especially even in these hot summer months, make sure you have a way to stay cool, okay? Even if the power were to go out, okay? Thank you all so much for supporting the channel the way that you do. I appreciate each and every one of you all. Take care, be blessed, and stay tuned for more news and commentary you can use right here on Andrea Speaks TV.